Hi, this is Max Katz with Appri.io. Today I'm going to show you how to build a mobile app that uses Facebook API. So let's start by creating a new app, Appri.io, Facebook app. Click Create, and in just a few seconds we're going to have a brand new app. Now, for connecting to Facebook, we actually got a plugin that helps with signing into Facebook. It basically takes care of the OAuth 2 flow. To get the plugin, we're going to go to Create New. Create new from plugin, and you can search for Facebook. So this is the plugin, and then import. Now when you import a plugin, there's usually a settings file where we set the API key. So we want to open it so we can set the API key, and we can also set the start page. Now you can of course do this once you import the plugin, but let's go ahead and apply the settings. This is the settings file, and we got two pages, Facebook login and Facebook_me. And then we got one service, one settings, and then there is a JavaScript helper file. Now the project ID is actually this ID in the URL. And to get the client ID, we actually need to go to Facebook developer portal and create an app. So let's do that. So this is developers Facebook and apps. I'm gonna create new app. I'm gonna give this a name, Appri.io app, and the category will be communication, for example, and then create app. Let's do this now. Right, then click submit. And we got a new app on the Facebook side. Let's copy this ID. This is what we need. All right. Now we need to head back for just a second, and we need to go to settings, and then add a platform, and add a website. Right. Now the site URL, this is the callback URL. So basically when you sign into Facebook, we're gonna open a new window, sign into Facebook, and once the sign in is successful, we're gonna redirect back to our app. So that's what's called the the callback URL. So I'm sure you've seen this when you sign in with Facebook, Twitter, or other providers. Now the URL, we can go from the test window, and we don't want this to be in a frame, so we're gonna copy this link and copy. The only thing we're going to change is right here, me. All right. So let's save the changes, and we should be able to actually now run the app. Right. So let's launch this in browser. Right. So we can see login with Facebook, and clicking the button, it's going to take us to the login screen and login. Right, and it's asking for permission. Basically, Appri.io app would like to access my Facebook profile, and we can say OK, and now we redirect it back. All right, so we just invoked the first Facebook API. We're getting the name, and we're getting the profile URL. Once we're signed in, we actually get access to we're saving the access token into local storage, and with local storage, with the access token, we can now invoke any other Facebook API that we want. Now let's get some more information from the profile, and to do that we need to add additional scopes, or basically permissions, to be able to access that information. To see to get that more information, we're going to use the user work history scope and then the user education history scope. We're going to open the helper file, and right here we're going to set. So this is user work history, and then user education history. All right, and then we can save, and we can click test again. So it's asking, it's for additional permissions, and you can always check what the app will access. We're going to say OK, and you can see we get the information here. All right. So now let's modify the app so that we can post to the timeline. Let's go back to the app builder. Let's go back to, and let's modify the UI quickly. So we'll add an input component and status, and let's get a button component. All right, now we need to create a service. So we're going to go to create service. And click create. Now we need to set the URL. So I'm going to head to my cheat sheet and copy this URL. Now I'm going to change this to post, and the content is going to be URL encoded. Now for the request, we need two things: is the access token and then the actual message. And we also need to update the scope again. We need to basically add permission for the app to post. The scope is right here. It's called publish actions. So let's go back to our helper. Actions. All right. Now to test the service, we need to get an access token with the publish actions basically included. So let's test. Login. And again, it's asking for new permissions, and you can set basically who can see the message. And we're going to say OK. Now we're going to open the Chrome DevTools, and we're going to go to local storage, and we're going to get the access token, which is right here. We're going to copy the access token. We're going to go back to the app builder, to the service, actually, here we go, Facebook. And we're going to go to test, and I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to say hello from apprei.io app, and click test. And you can see we got a successful result. Now I can go to my timeline, hit refresh, and you can see I just posted this message. All right. Let's go back. So we're good here. We can create the response, although we're not really going to use it. Let's go back to here. Let's switch to data. Let's add the service. And this is, let's rename this to post service. Now added mapping. Now we're going to map the local, the access token from local storage, and then the message. Now we're going to go back to design, and we're going to invoke the service on button click. Invoke service, post service, add event. All right. Let's go ahead and test. So logging into Facebook, and then we're going to say hello again from apprei.io app, and then post. All right. And let's refresh. And here we go. We just posted a new message, which is again, which is pretty easy and fast. All right. I want to show you one more thing, is that how are we going to read the timeline. So let's go back to the app builder, and let's create a new page. timeline, change the swatch so it matches the other pages. All right, change this. All right, now for the actual page, we're just going to use a grid component and keep it pretty simple. Now we're going to put a label. This is the name, and one more label for the actual message. So keep it very simple. Next we need to create the service. So service. Right, getting the URL, I'm going to head to my cheat sheet, and this is the URL. Now for request, again, we just need the access token. Okay. Now we can test the same way we just did, but again, we need to add a scope, which is read stream. So let's add a scope. All right. And let's test so we can get the new access token. Again, it's asking for additional permissions. We're going to say OK. Right. Now let's look in local storage. You can also, of course, print the access token into the page. It might be simpler. And opening the service, test. Right, and you can see we get the result. And again, you need to get this access token so it has the new permissions. Now we can automatically create the response, and we're going to go back to the page. We're going to switch to data. We're going to select service, timeline, call this and now the mapping. So getting the value from local storage. Now, so we're going to map, we got really just two labels. So we're going to take the name and map it to the first label, and then the message to the other label. Now, there are different types of postings on Facebook. There is a message when you do a message or a status update. There's also a link if you share a link. So we're actually only going to do messages, right, in this particular case. And finally, we're going to take data and map it to the grid itself, so we get all the messages. Back to design, we need to invoke the service on page load and page show, and then invoke service. All right. The last thing we need to do is we need to go back to our Facebook_me page, and we need to add a button. So let's take a button here. You can drop it here. You can select timeline. We can add an icon if we would like. All right. Opening events, navigate to page, and slide and timeline, add event. All right. Save and test. And now timeline, and you can see the messages. Now, where it says undefined, that means that there is no message. I probably shared the link, and that's why there's no information there. But again, hopefully, you get an idea how simple and fast it is to get this working. Of course, you need to go to the Facebook developers portal and kind of learn about the API and what it provides and how it works. But using the plugin, as you can see, you can get up and running pretty fast. Now, you can deploy this app as a mobile web app, and you can also, of course, build a binary for Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. All right, so we can do one more test. Actually, go back here. You can click back and say one more test from our new app, Pre.io app. Click post, and we can do timeline, and you can see it's right here. All right. So as I mentioned, there is a tutorial on our doc site that shows how to do this. So definitely give this a try. Use the plugin again to simplify Facebook development, building mobile apps with Facebook. Thank you for watching.